Hello, and welcome to By Design, a journey to discovering how culture influences the way we problem solve through the process of genuinely listening and learning from each other's stories. On this episode, I'll be talking with Tony Whatley II about his upbringing in Guam as a half-Black, half-Filipino. He'll also be talking about why his culture is strongly influenced by his Filipino side, even though he's only been to the Philippines twice. Tony will also talk to us about how his culture inspired his love for anime and why he wants to become a voiceover actor in the future. Tony Whatley has been criticizing American film and reviewing anime for the last 4 years on his YouTube channel, Black Critic Guy. He's a great friend and an excellent entertainer. Tony's ability to articulate his opinions and ideas built him a platform with a community of over 72,000 people from all over the world. Tony, welcome to By Design.
Thank you for having me on, Hiba. I must say I'm truly grateful to be on here. And as you said, we are really good friends. We met each other through the Office of Student Involvement at UCF. So when she told me that she wanted to do this, I was like, yeah, let's do this. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. We've been friends for a really long time, but I really didn't really get to know you until we started working on this project. So I'm excited
feeling is mutual.
Yeah. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about your heritage and where you grew up and how did you end up in Florida. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I grew up on an island called Guam. I talk about it a lot on my channel, and whenever I can promote it, I always do. In fact, I'm wearing a I Love Guam shirt, and if you see in the background, you see the Guam flag there. And I lived there for most of my life at this point. I lived there from my birth all the way to 2003 until I moved to California. But then I came back in 2005 and lived there until 2009. And then I just lived here in the United States. What was the rest of the question again?
No, you answered most of it, but talk a little bit about your Filipino side and your Black African American side, and how has that influenced you growing up in Guam?
Oh, yeah, well, definitely. Well, being in Guam, I was mainly raised by my Filipino family. So a lot of the Filipino ideology, culture, heritage, that's what I mostly knew growing up. You respect your elders. They have this thing where they do almsgiving, where basically you put your hand like this when you greet your elders. You take your shoes off when you get into the house. You have to go to church. We were raised Catholic. That's one of the strict, one of the strict parts of my upbringing is, you went to Catholic church. You were a good little Catholic boy, so I was raised Catholic. Food. We love eating food, like the Filipino food, and we had a lot of fiestas where we invite the whole family, play some pop music, some from the Philippines and some from the United States. It was a big community kind of thing. We were always together. I didn't really know much about my Black side until I came to the United States in 2001, where I visited my father, and he took me up to Tennessee, where he's actually from, and I met my Black family. And it was kind of interesting to see how very different they were compared to my Filipino family. My Filipino family, they are they're together, but they're not much of talkers, and they're not that lively as people. When I went to go see my Black family, they were always lively, always energetic, and I liked the sense of bonding that they had. I felt like it was a bit stronger on my Black side than it was on my Filipino side. Not to say they were bad or anything, but I definitely saw it on my Black side of the family. And they made me feel welcome too. I never felt alienated. They always embraced me and gave me hugs. They asked about my mother. It was quite awesome. I just love the liveliness of it all. And from those two things, it kind of molded me into the person that I am. Also cartoons as well. It made me into Tony, the Black Critic Guy.
Yeah, I mean, I totally can see where your enthusiasm comes from now that you're talking a little bit about your Black African American side. So I think it definitely makes sense, even though you got to meet them later on in life. But I think in your genes, it kind of works out. When it works out in your favor.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say a lot of people even back in Guam, they would compare me to my father, and I definitely see it. Me and my father, we share more things in common that I think both of us would like. Um, we're both loud, very opinionated, but we're always lively too, and we like to make people feel welcome. It's a quality that I've always respected in my dad, and I appreciate that I also have. Because if there's one thing my dad makes sure that never happens, is he makes sure that you never feel out of place or you never feel unwelcome. He always makes sure that everybody's included and everybody's having a good time. It's a strong strength of my father. He's a unifier.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. You have an amazing following on YouTube, and we have some great questions that I didn't even think of. So I'm just going to ask you some of the questions that your viewers have left us in the chat.
Welcome, guys.
So Manga Kingu is asking, do you speak English or do you speak some Filipino?
Unfortunately, I only speak English. I never got the chance to learn Tagalog. There was a point in my childhood, though, that I do remember vividly where I was feeling really bad that I didn't speak Tagalog, especially because a lot of my cousins spoke it. And I was saying to myself, well, this can't be. This can't happen. So I told my papa, okay, from now on, you have to teach me Tagalog. And he said, okay, well, here's how I'll do it. Whenever I need you to do something, I'll say it in Tagalog. So if he wanted to tell me to turn off the lights, he would say it in some type of, you say it in Tagalog. I know a few phrases. One of my favorite phrases, and this is something I learned when I went to the Philippines, was kain na daw, which means let's eat. Kain and daw, something like that. Kain daw. I've always pronounced it wrong, so.
That's beautiful because my children speak a little bit of Arabic, and I try to kind of convince them to use their Arabic when they're talking. So I can see how you know a little bit of phrases, but learning a different language, I feel like if you don't practice it, it's going to be difficult. But at least you know something.
Yeah, I mean, when you're younger, you don't fully understand the grasp of learning your native tongue. You know, you don't really think of it because it doesn't really matter to you. It's only later down the line do you realize, well, I probably should have learned that because I would have felt more connected to my Filipino family or to my Palestinian family if I actually learned the language. You know, to be a part of that community and stuff. And that's one thing I personally regret. I wish Tagalog at a younger age and actually been serious about it. I didn't take it seriously. And now I'm much older and I regret it because it's much harder to learn a new language as an adult. So
yeah. So I have one more question for you. Sonic Cedrian was asking you, what was your favorite part of school in Guam?
Okay, well, to answer that question, you need to gain a context of what going to school was like in Guam. So I was raised Catholic, which means I went to private school. In fact, I went to probably the most well-known private school in Guam. It was called Bishop and Gardner Memorial School. And in there, they had, they were very strict with the dress code. We always wore uniforms, no matter what. I mean, there were days that they gave us like, it was like, I forgot what the phrase was that they said, but basically we could wear anything on these days, like little free spirit days kind of thing. Moments from being in Bishop was actually in 8th grade. In fact, 8th grade would probably be my best year because that was the year that I actually grew to love acting and performance art. That was the first year that they actually put on a play. I was part of the first ever play in Bishop and Gardner, and I had a lead role. I was the big bad wolf from the fairy tales from like Red Riding Hood and all that. So it was called a storybook Christmas, where basically these two elves are forced to work throughout the night because apparently they screwed up, and Santa's like, "You're working through the night," and they're like, "Oh," and they fall asleep. And all of these storybook characters start coming into the workshop, and one of the first was me, the big bad wolf and the weasel. And I was saying, "Hey, you guys have given me a bad rap," and I literally went into a rap.
Oh, no way!
I wish I had the footage. In fact, recently I wanted to find the footage again. In fact, after you and I were talking, it spurred me to want to find the footage because I remember really enjoying it, and I had an afro. I had an afro and a cane and a suit. And I walked on stage like, oh, look at these people giving me a bad rap. It was so much fun.
I love
And the
that.
energy crowd. It was the first time ever I felt the energy from the crowd. It really like put a smile on my face. In fact, if you will allow me, I actually got my old yearbook, and there is a page in here that has me as the big bad wolf. Why didn't I have this prepared? Now I feel like I'm so ill prepared. But oh, here we go. Found it. All right. This. Right. Damn it. Come on. Stop flipping. Catholic School Week. Our Lady of Mass. Teachers at work. What? I thought I had it. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, take your time. I love that you were actually in a play. When I was in school. Oh, good.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. What?
Well, I was going to say when I was in school, we didn't really have plays. And I grew up in Jordan, so in Jordan, like having theater was not really a thing. We barely had art school, so like art classes. So it's very interesting that even being in Guam, like a small island, you guys still had kind of like a theater class, maybe, or was it just a play that was held by the school?
It was a play held by the school. We didn't have a theater class. We had music class where they would teach us like psalms and religious songs to sing whenever we would have mass at church, which is fine. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, religious songs, they're actually beautiful. One of my favorite religious songs is actually called Sing of Mary. It's a kid, it touched me. It's like, I don't know how it went anymore, but it was so lovely. I just wanted to show you this real quick because I actually was a part of the National Junior Honor Society. If you can find me there, I think I'm at the end down here. I can't see really, but
Are you being hugged by someone?
No, I'm the one doing the gang sign. I'm doing the gang sign at the bottom. I'm the guy right here.
Oh my God, that's so you. I love that.
That is me. And funny enough, I remember when I was in the 8th grade, I looked to my teacher. Her name was Miss Rodriguez. I'm like, I promise you, before I leave, I'm going to be in the National Junior Honor Society. And I worked my ass off. And sure enough, they had the little candlelight ceremony. They told us to close our eyes. Someone tapped me on the shoulder, and boom.
Wow.
National Honor Society.
I love that.
I think after this, the page.
It speaks a lot to your personality now, and it speaks a lot to what you're interested in now. And it's really nice to see that side of you, and to see that you kind of grew up and was nurtured at a young age to kind of pursue your passion.
Yeah, I've always I was distilled this idea of shooting for the stars from my father. I really admired him for that. He always told me never settle for second best. And I never did when I was at school. Oh, here's a funny one. So this is from Catholic Schools Week, and you see that guy right there? Guess
yeah. No way. Your hair is huge.
That afro you see is the same afro I used when I was the big bad wolf. I can't find the page where we did the play. I don't know why. It's so weird. I had this like 5
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, ask me another question while
Okay, so yes, definitely. I wanted to learn a little bit more about some of the traditions that are unique to Guam, or unique to at least the town that you were in Guam. I'm not sure how big Guam is, but I'm pretty sure there's like villages or towns.
Guam is exactly 33 miles long up and down and 15 miles wide.
Wow. So what were you in a village or a town? What would you call it?
We're called a village. We call it a village. So we lived in a village. Go ahead.
What was unique tradition-wise for your village in Guam?
Well, see, I lived in Dededo, and Dededo is very well known for having the biggest Filipino population. Almost every Filipino in Guam lives in Dededo. It's like if Dededo wasn't called Dededo, it would be called Little Philippines or something like that, because that's where all the Filipinos used to live. As for the cultures and traditions that were very special or unique to where I lived, most of Guam, we were unified in what we did. We all we're Catholic, so we went to church. That's a tradition that we did every Sunday. I would have to wake up at 6 in the morning so I could get in a car, drive all the way halfway down Guam to go to the biggest church on Guam called the Cathedral Basilica. Every day or every Sunday at 6 in the morning, we would wake up because the mass would be at 7. And my papa, who kind of ingrained the concept of always being early, not being on time, being early. You have to beat everybody there. We would go to church 45 minutes before mass even began.
Wow.
And we would wait until it started. It was like, he's actually the reason I'm so punctual. And when I was in Bishop, I actually earned an award for being so on time. Forgot what that award was called. It was some like perfect attendance. There, it was called perfect attendance. I won the perfect attendance award, and I've won it. I won it every year since I attended Bishop. I was always there.
Yeah, we're never on time. We whenever we have like events or like dinner parties or anything like that, we always tell people, oh, come at like 6 o'clock, and everybody ends up coming at like 8. So we're majorly late all the time. People start getting ready at 6 o'clock. So I love that your grandpa kind of taught you something that is very important in the workforce today. So that's really beautiful. And the fact that you had perfect attendance, you never got sick. How is that even possible?
I rarely got sick. I did get sick, but when I got sick, I went to the nurse's office and I slept through, and then I went back to class. Yeah. I was always there. By the way, I found it. I found the picture. The storybook. Move, Mike. The storybook Christmas. So you see there the picture of Santa Claus and I believe Mrs. Claus right there. The little kid. Oh, gotta make sure little kids singing over here. I think this was the workshop. And down here, guess who's down here as the big bad wolf?
Look at you. Yeah, it's a little blurry, but I see. Yeah, that's awesome.
Me talking to the elves and saying, hey, you guys are giving me a bad rap kind of thing. In fact, that's my best friend Tano as Jesus Christ. That's actually Jesus and Mary right here. After the play was done, we did the whole like nativity and all that stuff. Other traditions that I can think of, nothing truly unique or special, I guess. I mean, we had the whole like you take your shoes off when you go visit when you're right into a house, you take your shoes off. You always bless the elder people. Oh, here's one thing. When you talk to an older cousin or your older sibling, you don't call them just like, oh, Brandon or Hiba. You would call them Kuya Brandon, Kuya meaning older brother, and Ate Hiba, which means older sister kind of thing, or older girl, basically.
Well, so that's I would beautiful. Because sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
In the Egyptian culture, they say abla hiba, or I don't know what they call the guy, but I know for the female they would say abla hiba, which is really like pretty. We don't have that in Palestine, but for Egyptians, I think that's it's interesting that you guys are all over in Guam and have something very similar to them.
Yeah, it's to all of my fans watching this video right now, it's very similar to Japanese honorifics, like when you say like Kirito-san or Kirito-kun, like that. Instead of being at the end of the name, it's at the beginning of the name. So it's similar in that sense. In fact, a lot of Asian cultures have this sort of honorific system where you would put some type of subtext to the name. So
yeah, no, that's beautiful.
Anyway.
I really love that about your culture, because I feel like it has some intimacy about it, like when you or respect, which is very important. And I feel like being here, you don't really, I guess because of all of the diversity that we encounter in the mainland, but it's nice to kind of see that you guys value respecting elders and have a way of showing it, which is beautiful. But I want to move on a little bit and talk about your experience visiting the Philippines for the first time. What was your preparation like, and did you have to make before visiting? Can you talk a little about that?
Well, first off, we had to make sure that we got our shots and all that stuff. Make sure that we're healthy and stuff. My grandparents and my mom both preface that in the Philippines, don't talk. As you all know, I'm a very talkative person, but in the Philippines, it's a little dangerous for American tourists, especially people who don't understand the language, to constantly speak and kind of make themselves be heard and known that they're in the area. What a lot
Mhm.
of people don't know is that in the Philippines, there's quite a few kidnappings, especially if you're an American, because down south is heavily Islamic. In fact, Al Qaeda and many of the big Islamic terrorist groups, they live in the southern parts of the Philippines, and they're
Mhm.
known for kidnapping tourists. So they told me, like, don't talk so much. Let your cousins do the talking. Whenever we go into the palenque, which is basically Filipino or Tagalog for market. Um, yeah, so don't really talk that much, and also like be ready for like, because it's very polluted in Manila. It's probably one of the most polluted places in the world, and it's not, that's not an exaggeration. I've experienced it, and when I was in Manila, it was foggy, it smelled bad, but when we went out into the countryside, it was clearer, it was brighter, and it smelled better, and I'm like, wow, they really were not exaggerating about that pollution.
Yeah.
um
Um,
I Oh, go ahead.
no, I really wanted to know about, you visited the Philippines a few times. So can you talk about your first time visiting and how did it change the second time?
The first time visiting, I really didn't know what to expect. I honestly thought I was gonna go to a third world country, the huts and um, po- pollution and like rundown places. I thought it was just gonna be like going to India in a sense, but I was quite surprised at how modernized it was. It's kind of like the same perception that many people had about me coming from Guam, where they thought I lived in a hut and everything was run down. That's kind of like the same premonition I had when I went to the Philippines. Like, no, they don't have any hotels and there's no cars and stuff like that. I was terribly wrong, and I
Mhm.
was quite surprised. And I was also quite surprised at how good their service was when it came to the quality of how they treated their guests and their food and all that stuff. In fact, one of the fourth biggest mall in the world, called I believe it's not the Mall of, I think it's called the Mall of Asia is what it's called. It's the
Mhm.
fourth biggest mall in the world, and it is beautiful. It's well kept. In fact, they even have like private theaters that's one of the coolest theaters I've ever been to. Um,
Do they have couches? We have
what else?
couches in our
Yes,
theaters.
the reclining couches. They had
Mhm.
that. It was the first time ever I went to a theater. I'm like, oh wow, reclining couches, and it was just us in the room by ourselves. It was amazing. I also was very surprised at how well my cousins spoke English. I thought they didn't speak English, but no, they were really good at it. Um, I was surprised at how much I liked riding a
Mhm.
motorcycle cart, crate, a motorcade kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would always like sit outside on the motorcycle. I would always want to go like driving and picking people up. I loved it. It was a lot of fun.
I can imagine. I mean,
Um,
people will want to drive motorcycles here.
I was also quite surprised at the traffic. See, when you're in the Philippines, they don't actually follow the straight lines. You know how they
Mhm.
have like the broken line, the long line? There's no following that. They will
Oh
literally
no.
cross into the other section where they're like cars zooming past just so that they could pass over somebody else. There's limited traffic rules there.
Oh no, I
Um,
totally believe you because in Jordan, you're in a three-lane car. You're in three-lane, whatever cars. You're supposed to have three cars, right? But you have five, which is so normal. And it like you don't get a ticket or anything for that. That's just the norm.
it
And it's
blew
a
my
nightmare to drive.
mind.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I was like, why are you crossing into the other lane? Oh, stop, don't. And also another thing is that they use their horn very liberally. Here in America, we only honk our horn when we're frustrated or someone's like being a little jerk on the front, like, hey, move it, I gotta get going. But no, they're like, beep, 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 beep. Like, hey, I'm coming through. Just want to let you know. Boop, 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 boop. Here I
Oh, that's
come.
cute. I love that.
It was really interesting how very liberal and almost strategic they use their horns. It was never in anger or never into like honk at somebody else. It's just kind of like a little signal, like, "Hey, I'm behind you, but I'm gonna pass you because you're too slow."
Yeah, but
Um,
it's kind of like a language of its own too.
Pretty much, it was mind blowing, the traffic culture in the Philippines and how different it is to an American traffic culture. And they do have like the stoplights and all that stuff, but what surprised me is that there wasn't a lot of them. Not a lot of stoplights and traffic lights.
I
Like,
bet you they didn't have
really?
that many accidents either because they're actually communicating when they're driving.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the traffic, the number of accidents in the Philippines is 5 times lower than that of Guam, not the United States. Guam. Guam has more accidents than the Philippines, a country of its own.
Yeah,
And that was
that's amazing.
shocking to me. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of these things, like, they just really surprised me. So my second time around, I kind of knew what to expect. And I had a lot more fun exploring a little bit more of the place. And then we got, oh, go ahead.
I bet you learned a few sentences by then so you can actually speak, you know?
Kaya na daw was basically the one that kind of stuck with me. They taught me how to say no, which is hindi, and yes, which is opo. There was another phrase that they taught me, but I know how to say thank you, which is salamat po.
Oh, that's nice.
They taught me how to say beautiful, which is maganda, and to say I love you is mahal kita.
Aww.
So a lot of those small interesting phrases. In fact, my brother and I would always do that. In fact, whenever my brother would talk to my papa, is what I call my grandfather. By the way, I know here in America they call their dads papa. When growing up, I had to call my grandfather papa, my grandmother mama. But whenever he would talk to my papa, and my papa would ask him a question, and he'd be like, "Opo," or "Hindi," like that, very comically, but also endearing, and kind of like, using the Tagalog language and stuff.
Oh, that's interesting. I think I can see a little bit your love for anime from your grandpa because he's a little animated just by you describing him.
Actually, my grandfather had nothing to do with my love of anime. My love of anime just came from the fact that I loved cartoons growing up. And I know it seems like I didn't have a lot of friends. I actually had a lot. But I loved TV so much, and I was entranced in it. And I would always watch I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this in the chat. I watched a lot of Toonami growing up, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Yu Yu Hakusho, and all that stuff, Rurouni Kenshin. Those were the stuff that I watched growing up. I would watch it all the time whenever, like, 3 o'clock would come on, straight to home. Gotta watch the new episodes, all that good stuff.
The only anime I can think of that I used to watch was Pokemon. Pokemon was a big deal, when I was younger. Yeah. And I actually continued watching Pokemon up until like high school years, which, in my understanding, like you stop watching cartoon after like 6th grade, 7th grade, but I continued to watch it. And I felt a little weird, but now I'm thankful because I can actually, relate to my son who plays Pokemon Go like all the time, and he's watching it on Netflix. So I can actually communicate with him, and we have that bond. I love that.
Yeah. Funny enough, I stopped watching Pokemon when I got into about middle school, high school. So that's when I stopped, and I started watching other things. So
that's probably when I was in high school or probably college. Just saying.
Man, you. So yeah, that's pretty much that's where my love of anime started. It's just I've always had an affinity towards animation. I would always radiate towards animation. And the only years later, in fact, when I came back to Guam, when I was in the 7th grade, did I find out that what I loved was anime. Someone told me, like, "Oh, that's actually not made in America. That's made in Japan." I'm like, "Whoa, Japan."
Well, I mean, I guess I didn't know that either. I probably thought it was, because I used to watch, not the subbed, but the dubbed. Is not what it's called?
The dub. I think we all watched the dub, though. I didn't even know that there was a such thing as a dub. I thought that was the legit thing. And when I watched Naruto on back in the MySpace days, guys, I'm taking you back to the old school. Back in the MySpace days, they actually uploaded some of the newer episodes that aired in Japan of Naruto, and hearing it in Japanese was so weird to me. I'm like, that doesn't sound like Naruto, the one that I know. What is this? But through that, actually, I was introduced to the wide array of anime at my disposal. From watching Naruto I then started watching Bleach. Then I watched Soul Eater, and then there was something else I watched that led me into the genre that I love now, which is romantic comedy. I don't know what led me to it, but I think there was a show. Oh, I remember what it was now. It was called Urusei Yatsura. It's in Japanese. It translates vaguely to those obnoxious aliens, and rightfully so, because it's a show about a guy who has to battle this one voluptuously drawn girl that wears a bikini all the time with green hair, and he has 10 days to touch her horns, and if he doesn't, then the world gets conquered by these aliens. On the 10th day,
interesting. Sounds interesting. Maybe
on the night before the 10th day, his girlfriend Shinobu gives him a proposal of basically, if you win, we'll get married. And he's like, you're lying. We're not going to get married. She's like, I'm going to get married and stuff. And so he's, throughout the entire day of the 10th day, he's just in his mind thinking about the marriage. I'm going to get married. I'm going to get married. I'm going to get married. And he pulls out this gun. It's like a plunger gun that rips off her bikini. And she's like trying to cover up, like, give me my bra back. And he finally grabs her horn. And then he accidentally says, now I can finally get married, which she mistook, because Japanese is not her first language, as a proposal from him to get married. And now they get married, and that's where the show kind of begins.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, okay, so that's another thing about anime that I wish was different. Well, okay, not different, because obviously, there are certain series for certain, age groups, but I was watching God, what was it called? I forget, but I was watching an anime, and it was really, really good. And I was watching it with my son. We kind of like bond over anime on Netflix. And the first season was amazing. And then the next season, they introduced this character who basically was wearing like a fraction of a bikini top the whole time. And I was just like,
what show is this?
I forget the name, but God. I
kind of have a gist of what this, like, the series is about?
Yeah, so he is supposed to be like a devil, offspring of a devil, like king or whatever. And he has a twin brother, but he has the affinity.
It's called No Exorcist, Blue Exorcist.
Yes, there you go.
He had a father priest and he died.
Yes, right? It's called Blue Exorcist. You got it right. And I was like, I can't watch this anymore because I'm feeling uncomfortable because my son is 6. Like, he's not supposed to be exposed to, cartoon of that stature,
I've not seen the second season, so I'm kind of upset that they took that direction, because it was a solid shonen action anime. In fact, one of the standouts in the genre, in my opinion. So the fact that they have a character that's very basically, voluptuous and like just showing as much skin as possible, like, no, it fell into that little trap.
Yeah, you can tell from that show that somebody else took kind of the series and manipulated it or changed it. You can tell that it went through like it went to a different direction, because even like the storyline changes as well. And I felt like it was a little bit stronger in the beginning than it was. I guess it's the second season, but on Netflix it just shows you the whole show, so I didn't realize when the second season was.
Well, I'm sorry that you and your son had
to no, it's
that.
normal. I'm just saying, like, that's like, I love watching anime, like even now as a 29-year-old, but definitely, because it is definitely something that me and my son bond over. But I kind of feel now that I have to censor everything, like I have to watch it before he does. But yeah.
All right. So
let's get back to topic. Yes. So I want to go back a little bit to when you were in the Philippines, and we have a question from the chat room from Koro Oz, who asked, is there any dishes that you miss when you were in the Philippines?
Well, the dishes that I ate in the Philippines, I also could eat at Guam, because Guam is very heavily Filipino influenced. A lot of the food from Guam is based off of Filipino food. God, where do I start? I guess I'll start with my favorite Filipino dish, palabok, which is basically the equivalent of spaghetti in America. I always referred to it as Filipino spaghetti, in my opinion. And God, I remember the first time I had palabok, it was such a euphoric feeling. It had this soft texture, this weird sensational taste, but it was very salty too because you could put in Tagalog it's called patis, but in American it's called, which I think is not as interesting as patis. But you would put patis on it, squeeze maybe some lemons on top of it, crunch up some pork grinds, or as they call it, chicharron, on top, and you just mix it together. Maybe even put some shrimp on top, and it's just delectable, delicious. There's also a dish called kare kare, which is basically like Tagalog for curry. It's a peanut curry dish where you take oxtail, you boil it in some water, you take it out, you put it inside this very thick peanut butter sauce dip, and it is just delicious.
Okay, peanut butter
One of the things I
sauce
love
is awesome. Okay, I love anything.
You gotta try it.
Yeah.
You live in California, so you should go to some, and there's a lot of Filipino restaurants I know in your area, so you definitely need to go check it out. There's a thing that they give with the kare kare. It's called bagong, which is basically this pink type of I don't remember what it is, but I think they call it shrimp sauce, because what they do is they grind up some shrimp, put a lot of salt and stuff into it, and it's like this little sauce that you would put into the kare kare while you're eating, and it's my mouth is like watering as I'm talking about this. That's one of my favorite dishes. One of the most unique dishes that I don't think I ever saw anywhere. Oh, two. There's two. I'll tell you two. The first one that I ate a lot was this squid dish where they'll literally cook the squid in its own ink.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And I thought it would taste disgusting.
Yeah.
It tastes really good, actually. It blackens your teeth, though. That's kind of off-putting. But other than that, it tastes good. And when you mix it with rice, it's even more incredible. And then the last thing, and this is very unique to the Philippines, it's something called balut. Have you ever heard of balut before?
No.
Balut is basically an egg with a bird embryo inside it. You cook it, and you make a hard-boiled egg, and when you open it up, there's a bird embryo inside it. Sometimes it's even a full bird, and that is a delicacy in the Philippines.
No way. I've never heard of that. That sounds that sounds good, but at the same time, it sounds a little inhumane, I feel. Baby bird. Yeah, no problem. But it sounds very interesting. I definitely would love to try that. My experience, well, I like to try different foods. As long as it's something that I can eat, then I'll try it. But my experience with Filipino food is actually in college. One of my friends was half Filipino, half Jordanian, and he used to take us. Yeah, he used to take us to a Filipino restaurant. It was a small little hole in the wall. It was like a family owned, just maybe 4 or 5 chairs that people can sit on. And we would have, it's like a soup-like dish. And obviously he knew, and then there was like a drink that they used to make that was very interesting. It's been over 10 years, so I don't really remember a lot of it, but that was my experience with Filipino food. And I know it's delicious. What I like, I think in America is that, I'm assuming this is correct, but maybe, forgive my ignorance, but I like eggs on anything, fried eggs on anything. And I'm guessing that's a Filipino thing, right?
Oh, yeah. Because when I was growing up, my legit favorite dish, and my papa knows this whenever I come to visit Guam, Spam, eggs, and rice. Ever since I was a little kid, my papa for breakfast would cook Spam, eggs, and rice. And what I would do, I'd take the egg, and he would cook it over easy, which is basically where you cook the bottom, and then you flip it so that you could cook the top, that it hides the yolk away. And what you do is you pierce it, you pour the yolk all over your rice, mix it up, pour some soy sauce on it. It's the best. It's the best dish ever. I'll never forget it as long as I live. So yeah, you're right. We do like mixing eggs in our rice. In fact, fried rice, which is very popular in Guam, is basically a concoction of mixing rice with garlic, eggs, some meat, and veggies.
That sounds really good.
it is really good.
Okay, so I want to keep going because we're getting short on time. But so I want talk to me a little bit about some misconceptions that you think people have about the Pacific Islander culture that you want to bring awareness to.
Okay, well, there's one big one that I'm always sick and tired of people asking me, and that is, oh, when you lived on Guam, were you guys civilized, or did you have like electricity? Did you drive cars? Did you live in a hut? I want you all to know, and I'm talking to all of you watching right now. Guam is basically a mini United States. Everything you have in here in the United States, it exists in Guam. You know, we don't live in huts. I have never lived in a hut my entire life when I was in Guam. You know, I lived in a cemented house. We don't ride buffaloes to work, or there's no dirt roads. There are some, but not a lot. There's paved roads. We're very civilized. We have technology. You know, how else would you explain why I love anime and stuff if I didn't have TV in Guam? You know, that's a big misconception.
Well, because I didn't even know Guam was part of the United States. So for me, like that's a whole big misconception right there, you know? So it was really nice to kind of like learn your story and learn a little bit about you. Because I think I knew that you were half Filipino. I just didn't realize that you lived in Guam your whole life on an island. But I'm assuming it's very similar to kind of Hawaii. Like, how do Hawaiians?
Yes, almost exactly the same as living in Hawaii. I remember when I went to Hawaii, and I was actually quite surprised at how similar we were to Hawaiian culture, down to the fact that we love Spam too. In Hawaii, Spam is actually a delicacy, just like in Guam. We love Spam.
Wow. So wait, Spam is the egg that you're telling me about with the embryo?
No, Spam is not an egg. It's actually a meat dish.
Okay.
Back in the Second World War, they needed to create like a substitute meat to give to the troops when they're out doing their thing, something that's a luncheon meat, and thus Spam was created. And because most of this was sent to the Pacific Islands, the GIs introduced Spam to the Islanders, and then it was just incorporated into Islander culture to the point where we stole Spam from America and made it an island thing.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. I didn't know that either. Look at you.
It's interesting, huh? See,
yeah.
You're all learning something new today.
I know. I love that. This is why I love this show, is because we get to really like delve in deep. And I bet you everybody who's in the chat room now, who's been following you for 4 years, did not know this much about you. And I feel like talking about our culture and heritage and traditions kind of, you know, brings us a little bit closer, makes us a little bit figure out our similarities. And sorry, I'm looking at the chat room and they're hilarious. I love your audience. They're amazing.
Yeah, they love, like, I know Ambu right now is like Tony X Spam, which is just basically him shipping me with Spam. So I'm like, thanks.
I love
buddy.
that. Let's get into, you know, how has your culture, tradition, heritage influenced your love for film and anime? Talk a little bit about that.
To be honest, my culture and heritage didn't really have much to impact me so much when it came to my love of film and anime. It was almost incidental in my relationship with film, because I just lived on Guam when I grew a fascination for anime and film. I fell in love with film. I remember I was in high school. I think it was my senior year. No, not my senior. How could it be my senior year? I was a freshman in high school, and my friend's dad, my friend Ryan, his stepdad, had a movie called Pulp Fiction, and he lent it to me. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna watch this movie, see what it's all about. And it blew my freaking mind. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I loved its execution. It was unique. It was different from most things I've ever seen. It blew my mind as a kid, and ever since then, I've loved film. I've wanted to work in film. I wanted to be involved in film in some way, shape, or form. And same goes with anime. You know, I just kind of stumbled upon it. It impacted me a lot as a kid. It came at the right place at the right time for a kid trying to find his identity and a creative outlet that shared his love of animation. You know, if it wasn't for cartoons, I wouldn't have loved anime. Anime gave me everything I loved from cartoons, but also gave me something more mature and something that challenged me more than a cartoon could. Not to say that cartoons are bad, it's just most of them are geared towards kids here in America. In Japan, that's not the same. Japan has a different system when it comes to animation, where it could be for all ages.
Yeah, I love that. And the more I kind of watch anime, the more I like I want to watch more. You get addicted kind of thing. And
Yes.
I after watching Pokemon, I haven't watched much. So I went through a period where I haven't really watched anime or cartoons or anything like that. Now my days consist of, little Einsteins and the Beetle Beats or something like
Do you
that.
guys watch Caillou?
A lot. I mean, everything. I watch everything that is, below 1 years old because I have he just turned one. But
Caillou kills me,
my
man.
sister got me back into anime when she introduced help me out, Dunya. God.
Help me out, sis.
Yeah,
Throw me
she's
a
in the chat
line.
room. Oh goodness. Wow, my head. Um
Describe the anime to
Oh
me.
yeah, I'm gonna do that because that's the only thing I can do at this point. So it's a civilization, it's dystopian, and they live in a world where there's like giants that eat people.
Oh, Attack on Titan.
There you go. Oh my god. Oh my god. Thank you. I totally forgot. And I am
Your
dying
sister's a
until
little
the
late in
next.
the chat.
Yeah, Dunya. What kind of help? Oh my
Oh,
god, she's so funny. But yeah, I got into Attack on Titan. I'm obsessed. Oh my god.
are
I
you ready
can't
for
wait.
season 2?
Which comes out in April, right?
April 1st, which I'm a
Yes,
little worried about.
I
Why does it
know.
come out on April Fool's Day?
Oh, I hope they don't do April Fools
I
anywhere
think
outside
the
of the
anime
US.
community would riot. I would be in the riot as well. I'd probably be leading the riot.
Because it's been years since season 1, right?
4 years to be exact.
Yeah. So not a lot of people know that about me because I look like this cute little, I don't know, average American girl, but in reality, like I love that's why I love cultures, is because it introduces me to different avenues of life. So anime is like one thing that when I tell people, oh, I love to watch anime,
I mean,
they're like, really?
the same goes for me. Like when they look at me, they don't see like this guy who lived on an island and was Filipino. They see a young black man. When
Mhm.
I lived in California in 2003 all the way to the end of 2004, I would always ask people, "What do you think I am?" Like just
Yeah.
to see what they say. They're like, "You're black Hispanic? Are you black Hispanic?" I'm like, "Close. I'm black and Filipino."
Yeah, that's interesting.
I would love to
Well,
pull that on them.
people didn't really recognize that I was Middle Eastern either because I look different for Middle Eastern. Middle Eastern girls are olive skinned, brown eyes, dark hair, which I kind of have, but you know what I mean. So I always felt out of place. So that brings me to then my next question is: have you ever
Ooh.
felt like you were out of place? Did you ever feel weird? How did you handle that feeling?
Um, when I was when I went to go visit my black family, I did feel a bit out of place. Now, I'm not saying that this is against them. They did their best to make me feel welcomed,
Mhm.
but it was just so jarring because for most of my life, until I was about 8 years old, almost 10 years old, I didn't really know my black family, and they were complete strangers to me. My dad probably would tell me like, "Well, I brought you when you were a little kid," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I was little. I don't remember
Yeah.
that much from like 4 all the way down, which is the last time apparently I was with him and that family."
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a little alienated. I felt kind of weird because I did embrace more of my Filipino side, so I didn't really know how to interact with my black family. And my brother was sort of the same way. That is until he moved with my father and he became more like acclimated to seeing our black family more.
Mhm.
Um, so that was a time where I felt kind of like out of place. And it didn't feel like, not that I say it didn't feel welcome. It just felt weird to me. And also, coming back to Guam too was kind of weird too. Something I didn't mention earlier
Mhm.
on is when I was in the third. third and fourth grade, I was actually bullied. I was bullied a lot, and I felt so unwelcomed at school.
Yeah.
Hell, even the girl of my dreams, the girl I had a crush on, destroyed my heart. Um, in the third and fourth grade, and it was tragic. And I was like a fat, nerdy kid too. I had the big glasses and the buck teeth. I kind of asked for it though, because also I did weird things in class. Like I would sing out loud. I'm not kidding. I would sing out loud in class during tests sometimes too, and it would get me in a lot of trouble. I was a strange kid. So when I came back to Guam, I was scared that I'm just gonna be experiencing the same thing I felt when I was in the fourth grade, which is the worst year I ever experienced in school. I was bullied a lot. I had no friends, or I didn't have a lot of friends. I had like the nerdy friends. I was alienated constantly. And when I came back, most people only remembered me as that fat nerdy kid. And I wanted to change that persona going forward. And luckily, in sixth grade, I was able to change that persona. And all it took was my knowledge of hip hop, and then boom, everybody accepted me. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting.
Well, I love that you mentioned that you felt like you're a little weird, because I've always felt like I was a little weird. I'm very attracted to anything that's weird. That's my favorite word. And my tagline for By Design is embrace your weird. And the idea is, you're weird. Your normal is weird to somebody that doesn't understand you, so, but once they get to know you, you're no longer weird. They'll understand that that's normal. And, it's maybe something has to do with your, probably something that has to do with your culture. I mean, if you know more about my culture, you would think I'm completely weird, but it is, in my society, it's very normal. But then I go back to, Palestine or Jordan, and then they'll think I'm weird because, I act differently, dress differently or whatever, talk differently. And my interests are different. So all of a sudden I'm weird. And this is why I started this whole project, is because I wanted to kind of build a community around people who have always felt like they were they were different and nobody really understood them, but that they're creative. So they've kind of like used that energy that was put towards them, and they've created something interesting about it. And I want to delve into, how did you take this energy and start your YouTube channel, Black Critic Guy?
Well, this is actually a story as
Great
old as
segue,
time.
right?
I think I've told. Yes, it was a well done segue. Let's give it up for Hibba, everybody.
Thank you.
Claps for Hibba. This is a story as old as time. As I believe I've told this story more than anything. So I moved to the United States in 2009, and being somebody who's new to Florida, never lived in Florida, I didn't really have much of a hobby. I didn't know what to do. I retreated to anime. Anime helped me through most of like the first, 2009 at least. In 2010, I was able to kind of fend for myself, but anime was like my saving grace in 2009. I would always watch it and stuff. And when I first came to the United States, it was sometime in May or June. I visited my father a lot. And when I was down there, my brother had a webcam, much like this one right here. And he had his own channel called DD Dex 28. And he would do covers of popular R&B songs. My brother's dream was to be an R&B singer. He wanted to be a singer.
Yeah.
He would do these cringy covers that would always annoy the hell out of me, because I'm like, I'm tired of hearing you sing.
Do you have only one brother?
So
just FYI.
I only have one brother, yeah. Okay. It made me cringe so hard. But I was saying to myself, why don't I make a YouTube channel and start my own YouTube page and stuff like that? Thus came the birth of my first channel, The Black Anime Guy, where I basically was wrapped up in a blanket. And
oh my God, does that video still exist?
It still exists. It's on my channel right now. I didn't delete it because I always like to keep it as a reference of how far I've come. It's basically me saying to the camera, like, hey guys, it's me again. I say it's me again because when I record that was my third take. And so I said it's me again for some reason. I'll never live that down. And it's just me saying, hey, I just realized I'm new to this whole YouTube thing. So I said, hey, why don't I make a YouTube channel? It's so bad. I want to
But
kill
that's
myself.
really good because and I love that you still have it online and that it exists and people can go watch. Because when you look back and you see kind of like where you're at now, like now you articulate yourself so well, and you're well, like you sound smart, and everything that comes out of your mouth is so smart. I love everything that you say. And for someone your age, you're still so young. The fact that you have so much knowledge and you can speak so well about articulating your opinions and ideas, and always having a reason behind a negative thought, for example. So you criticize constructively, and that's a skill that is not easy to develop, but it is definitely important for an adult or for going into the workforce or anything like that. So I commend you for that, and the fact that you were probably afraid starting something and putting yourself out there, but it definitely helped you to grow as a person.
I thank you for the kind words, as always, Hiba. I mean, you make me sound like I'm very intelligent, but I always feel like you're more eloquently well spoken than I am. So
Well, thank you. I just started this. It's only been a month, but I
you're doing a killer job, girl. Guys, if you have a chance after this, go check out our other interviews. I actually really like the one you did with Ebony. It's my favorite so far.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like Ebony is like I really wanted to ask her more questions, but like I just got
Uh,
wrapped up in her story. Yeah.
no, I
Um
understand,
yeah, so sorry.
but
I want to go back and
go ahead.
ask you a little bit. This is kind of like maybe for me, I would take it as a sensitive question, but as someone who kind of is grew up and embracing his Filipino side, and being surrounded by his Filipino grandparents and living in a Pacific, island kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Why did you decide to call yourself the Black Critic Guy, even though that was like a part of your upbringing or life that you weren't really in touch with as much?
I had a feeling that you were going to ask me this question. It's actually a very prominent question that's asked of me from my subscribers and also from my Filipino family. In fact, I remember I got a really angry phone call from my uncle, and he's just like, Tony, why you call yourself the Black Critic Guy? What, you're gonna forget about your Filipino heritage? What, we not important anymore? And I'm like, it's not the reason why I chose the name. I chose the name because it just had a nice catch to it. I wanted
Mm.
something that was phonetically flowed. The Black Critic Guy, but it was originally the Black Anime Guy. So um,
Yeah,
it
when
wasn't
did you
because
change that?
I changed it it was December of 2011. I changed it because I realized I was doing more movie reviews than I was anime reviews. So
Mhm.
I can't really call myself the Black Anime Guy because I incorporate more than just anime reviews. When I first started the channel, it was mainly anime reviews, but then I started venturing to movies and reviewing movies, and I found out I really enjoyed doing those. So I kept doing them, and I realized, okay, well, I can't call myself the Black Anime Guy anymore. I don't just review anime, I
Yeah.
review movies. So I need a name that encompasses that. And the Black Critic Guy was not supposed to be that name that encompassed everything. It was a placeholder until I could figure out a better name and whether or not my subscribers could give me a better name.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Intentional, it was actually incidental, and then just kind of stuck, and I had to live with it.
No,
Now
but
I'm Black.
yeah, no, it speaks to you perfectly because I think it's kind of a tribute to a side that you're not connected with as much. So I feel like it works out perfectly for you because it keeps you connected to that half of your heritage, right? So I
Yes.
like it, and it does flow phonetically, like you were saying. But let's get into kind of a little bit more of how criticizing American film and anime um, kind of induced your love for voice acting.
Well, actually, my critiques of movies and anime didn't really venture much from or didn't really add to my love. My love for voice acting came because of my love of animation. I loved animation a lot growing up. You know, like I said earlier, I love cartoons, I love anime, and because that art form is so unique and endearing to me, it impacted the way that I am. It impacted the lessons I learned, and I thought that animation, in my opinion, animation is the best genre of film,
Mhm.
TV, or anything because it encompasses all, and it connects to all. It's the biggest. It's the only genre I know of that is universally appealing. I mean, you could go somewhere in Afghanistan and mention a Disney cartoon and they'll know it more than they would like a live action Christopher Nolan film. You know, that
Yeah.
animation is universal. And because it's so universal, I wanted to be a part of that. And I felt like the voices who also portrayed those characters are as universal too. And I wanted to be that type of person. I wanted to voice a character that I fully enjoyed.
Mhm.
I would watch a lot of documentaries and interviews with creators and voice actors of like films and TV shows, and they would just be talking about their experiences and how much they enjoyed it and their passion. And it got me excited and passionate to want to
Mhm.
become a voice actor myself. So that's really where it came from. I critique movies and anime because of my love of movies and anime. I feel like if you truly love something, you would both praise it, but also bring it down when it needs to be put in its place. You know, not all films and not all anime are going to be great. In fact, the next anime I'm reviewing is a terrible anime, and
Yeah.
it reminds me of the fact that not all things are good. You know, the gods are fallible in a sense.
Mhm. So anime, like, let me get back to a little bit. Sorry. Multitasking is not something that I'm good at right now.
It's
But
okay. You're responding to the chat. That's why.
yeah, well, I'm trying to do multiple things, read some questions, respond to the chat, and talk to you at the same time
Yeah,
and
she's
listen
not
to what
used
you're
to
saying.
this. She's
Um,
not used to this, guy. She's still learning this. But hey, you got a big audience
and
here.
there's
You
a lot
know.
of people, so I kind of like want to give everybody a little bit of of our attention. And there's a lot of questions they really want to get to know you, which is
See,
amazing.
guys, she loves you guys so much. So why don't you like her video? You know, help her break 100 likes. What about that, guys? Huh? Can
Oh
we
my
do
God,
that for
you're
her? Can
hilarious.
we do that for her, guys? Adam Baldwin, do it for her.
Oh my God. Anyways, Tony, let's get back to talking a little bit reviewing and a voice acting. So,
Yes.
for those of you guys that don't know, and you probably don't know, Tony, I used to actually review young adult books, and I had an online magazine, and I used to do it. As kind of like a passion project. So I used to get books in the mail, and I used to get advanced copies, and I love the young adult genre, and I see that genre in animation, and the innocence of kind of like the Japanese kind of culture. I love that, and it's evident in their the series that they produce. So that's my love for animation, kind of like developed. And I wanted to touch up on your when you were talking about voice acting. Me and you were having this discussion before, and we talked about how voice acting is kind of like the art that nobody knows about, and
Yes.
not knows that it's just not popular. And I feel like animation, voice acting, sorry, is something that anybody can do, and it is such a great career. Even voice actors themselves speak so highly of it, and they love the community, and they love the projects they get to work on, and the fact that they can work on multiple projects. It's such a flexible job, let's just say, but it's such a creative job, and you don't have to, there's no ageism, there's no sexism, there's none of that in voice acting, which I love. And I wish, kind of like, for some reason, you watch cartoons, you watch animation, you watch all of that, and you don't realize, like, there's people who are behind mics like this one, who are talking for the characters for some reason. Like, my kid just realized that. He just learned that at 6 years old.
Blew his
So
mind.
I'm sorry.
Blew his mind, huh?
Oh my God, yeah. He was just like, mommy, that I don't know what cartoon, but he was like, he's not really talking. It's somebody else who's acting like he's talking. And I thought that was so cute. I was like, oh my God. So that's like one of those milestones that I write down in his baby book. Like, okay, he just realized that people, cartoons are not real. Yeah.
It blew my mind. Like when I was growing up, to learn who the people voicing the characters are. Like, one of the ones that blew my mind is that when I found out who Bart Simpson's voice actor was, and it's not an actor, it's an actress. Bart Simpson's voiced by a woman named Nancy Cartwright. And I was like, what? A woman? But he's a little boy. What do you mean he's being voiced by a woman? It blew my mind. It also blew my mind to learn that a lot of, especially here in America, a lot of like one voice actor could voice a multitude of characters. I learned this immediately when I was watching The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and The Simpsons. When I was watching Billy and Mandy, I was so surprised because the art of voice acting is so interesting because they have to portray different characters and use different voices for said characters. And sometimes you wouldn't even notice. Like, there's a character in The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy who there's the Grim Reaper, right? He's voiced by a black guy named Greg Eagles, and he has the Jamaican voice, man, and stuff like that. And he voices, not only does he provide the voice for Grim, he voices this white bully kid named Spurg, and it's a different voice than what he sounds like when he's Grim. And when I found out he voiced Spurg, I was completely taken aback because it sounded nothing like him.
Yeah.
That is the beauty and the art of voice acting right there, in a nutshell.
I love that. So I just want to, kind of wrap up the show, but we're going to have an after show. So can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yes.
It's mostly your audience, but
I mean, hey, you never know. I mean, your sister's watching. She needs to know where I'm from.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I said, I am Tony, the Black Critic Guy, and I review movies and anime on a somewhat daily basis. And you can find me on YouTube. Just type in The Black Critic Guy, or not The Black Critic Guy. Type in Black Critic Guy. Same goes for my Twitter and my Facebook. All you have to do is type in Black Critic Guy, and boom, you'll find me. I'm also on Instagram as Tony Watts. And I think that's pretty much all the social medias that I use so far.
Awesome.
So those where you find me, kids.
Well, thank you, Tony, for sharing your story with us today. It's been wonderful learning more about your heritage, traditions, and culture. To learn more about Tony, visit his YouTube channel and Twitter at Black Critic Guy, and follow him on Instagram at Tony Watts. Please visit hippobydesign.com/5 to watch today's episode, video recording, show notes, and extras. I want to encourage you guys to listen positively, because when people talk about their culture, it usually involves very intimate aspects of their life. It's an honor to be invited into their safe space, and it becomes your responsibility to protect and uphold the integrity of their stories. I'd love to thank you for watching. And remember, your normal is weird to people who don't understand you, but your weird is what makes you special. So embrace your weird and spread to others the love and acceptance you want to gain. Until next time, I'm your host, Hiba, and you've been listening to By Design. Into the chat room, so please feel free to ask any questions about his culture, and any questions that will get picked. We're going to end up choosing, I'm going to be recording the people who ask really good questions and we answer. And then from those, we'll do kind of like a random draw, and Tony's going to be giving some awesome giveaways. So the first question that I want to ask you that I thought was very interesting was, what is the first anime that you've ever watched? And Zainab Abul Jalil is the one that asked it.
Oh, that's hard because, like, is that in reference to like when I knew what I was watching was anime, or just in general? Because if we're going in general, I mean, I'm cliche. It would be a tie between Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, which I watched at the same time. But if it was because, like, if it's based on whether or not I knew it was an anime, then it would be Naruto. Naruto was the first anime I watched that I knew was an anime. Mm-hmm. So those are my answers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think I've. By the way, guys, you should also ask Hiba some questions, because she's a very interesting lady. You should get to know her, because you guys know too much about me.
Maybe that could be on another show. Maybe you can have me on your channel, and we'll
Well,
collaborate more.
I would love to, guys. Would you love for her to be on the Black Critic Guy channel as a special guest? Let us know in the
Oh
comments.
my God, you're putting everyone on the spots. But
I have to put them on the
oh,
spot.
that's
I'm Tony.
well, Tony. Marcus Sable, sorry if I butchered that, is asking, what is your degree, and did it help you in your career?
My degree was for human communication. Before that, it was called interpersonal organizational communication. And did it help me with my career? No.
No,
I took it. Huh?
no way.
What?
I would think it would help you a little bit.
I mean, at this current, like at this time and place, it hasn't. And plus, it's not really what I'm striving to do. Again, I want to be a voice actor, and I just honestly got the degree to get a degree because my father was like, "You need to get a degree, you know, have something to fall back on." I'm like, "Fine, I'll do that." Okay, let it go, and then that's what I did. I definitely, I mean, it could help. Time will tell. I've been out of college for 2 years so far, so we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But yeah.
So, okay, so I'm going to ask you a question right now because I think what you just said is very interesting. Because a lot of people might relate to having to go to school because their parents feel like or pressure them. But in my opinion, I, as a parent and as me growing up, like school is so important, not just to get a degree, it's just important to kind of educate yourself and be well-rounded. And it's part of my story. That's just for another show. And if you guys follow me or subscribe to my channel,
which you should already have done.
I talk about, the importance of education and how it's helped me in becoming a UX designer. So, can you talk a little bit about, how has, your dad, how did he talk to you about college, and what was your communication like with him? Because I kind of went through the same thing because I studied architecture before I got into graphic design, and I did that for 5 years. And when I wanted to switch, it was kind of like a thing that I had to struggle with because I grew up with the mentalities I have to study something prestigious or I'm going to school as a waste.
Yeah. And I just want to just state this for the record that I do highly, highly, highly recommend that you attend college for the education, but also for the experience. If it wasn't for college, I wouldn't have met Hiba. So that is something that I take away. Like personally, what I took away from college was the connections and the people that I met. The education, it sticks, but it's not really everlasting. What's everlasting to me is the bonds that you form with other people and the connections that you can build that can later lead to some successful interactions and probably even success business-wise down the road for you. Like, again, if I hadn't gone to college, we would not be here at this very moment having this awesome interview.
Yeah, that's
I would
true.
not have been able to work with so many incredible artists. I would not have been able to do many things. And I take going to college as the prime reason for this. But I do also believe you should strive to kind of do a degree that you're passionate about. My degree was supposed to be film. I wanted to do film. My dad was like, "No, you're not doing film. I want you to do a degree that will get you a job." I'm like, "Fine, I'll go do something to get me a job." I wanted to do marine biology. One thing I didn't get to say in the interview, I don't know why I didn't bring it up, but I have a huge passion for whales. Whales are my favorite animals in the world. My favorite whale being an orca whale. And
oh, so you probably are very familiar with Blackfish, the documentary.
oh yeah, I watched it, and since then I've never been to SeaWorld. So.
Me neither. Oh my God, me too. We do.
But honestly, I recommend that you also do a little research before you make that assumption. Because after watching Blackfish, it broke my heart a lot. But
me too.
I looked up some of the things. They did mislead a lot with their information. They were very biased. But I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, they're very biased, but they actually opened my eyes to a much bigger problem, and that is the what's the word I'm thinking of?
Well, I feel like
the captivity of these sea animals. I mean, think of it.
Yeah.
These animals are supposed to be traveling up and down the Pacific Ocean. They're staying in a tank.
Yeah. But
Like
that
like
applies to all animals in zoos, in my opinion. But I mean, I'm not going to
I have
get
a
into the
problem.
politics of everything. But for me, I feel like you are definitely going in the correct path, and you definitely are using your degree, because I feel like it's helping you in your day-to-day life, and it's definitely helping you developing your YouTube channel and the way you articulate yourself. I feel like going to college, taking those 2 years of just general, science and math and all of that helps you, write a paper or write a proposal to get sponsored by somebody or anything like that. Those basic things are very important. And I went to school for 10 years, and it's because I had children at the same time. So it just, I had to kind of spread it out. Plus I switched from architecture to graphic design. But I definitely see the benefits in at least the general classes that I took. And then obviously my specialized classes, like I wouldn't be in my career right now if it wasn't for them. But
Exactly.
all right. So the next question is, what is next for Black Critic Guy, and what is your next project by Maria Olivers?
Well, what's next for Black Critic Guy is I'm still gonna keep doing the movie and anime reviews, but I do want to venture into some like other things. I started doing that in 2015 with the appearance of a comic that I worked on with I don't know if he's still in the chat, but Ben Tuttle, who's my artist, good friend. He's always been
Who's
he's been
very
my rock.
talented.
Yeah, he's been my rock for the past three years probably. And he's just a phenomenal artist. Like you said, he's a great guy. I love him to death. And we worked on this project called BCG Rumble, where basically myself, get transferred to my favorite anime, which is School Rumble. And I'm still working on chapter 2, guys. It's coming, I promise. I've been very lazy and I put it off for too long, but I promise you, it's coming. It's coming. That's one project I'm working on. I'm trying to get some work as a voice actor. So one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make enough money so I can join this one service called voices.com, which is a place for aspiring voice actors. They even teach you the ways of voice acting and how to get jobs and all that stuff, which excites me and gives me the opportunity to try other things. I really can't wait. So yeah, those are some of the things that are coming down the pipeline. I'm hoping to work on some other projects. I'm not too sure when, but they're coming. I promise. The beauty of YouTube is that you could do honestly anything, that you could put your mind to, and that excites me.
That's awesome. Okay, last question. The last question comes from my sister, Dunya Abdelkader.
Yeah, she had a good question, actually.
She had a great question because Dunya's been interested in animation before she got into architecture school. And I wanted her to go to the UCF animation program, but just things didn't work out. And she's studying architecture now, but she's definitely interested in voice acting. So she's asking you, Tony, what would you advise a person that has a love for voice acting but doesn't know where to begin?
Well, this is speaking from experience because I'm in the same boat as you. I'm somebody who aspires to be a voice actor, but I don't really know where to begin. Fortunate for me, I actually worked in like the film program, and I worked on some film sets, and I got to meet some very interesting people who were able to open some doors and opportunities for me to let me know about, like, hey, here's a voice acting workshop or stuff like that. But there's also many places online that allow you to kind of grow as a voice actor. Like I said earlier, voices.com allows you to kind of join in, and you get a lot of perks. And they pay you, by the way, for your voice acting if you get accepted for those roles. Voices.com. I know that Crispin Freeman actually hosts an online class that teaches aspiring voice actors the ways of voice acting and how to put yourself out there. There's so many outlets here on the internet that can help you mold into, like, grow as a prominent voice actor or actress. You just got to put yourself out there, That's some of the advice I would give you. Also, maybe even work on some small projects with small creators here on YouTube. I know there's a bunch of creators that are always looking for voice actors and actresses. I know, in my experience, I've been asked plenty of times to provide voices for characters on somebody's show, or I've invited people to provide voices for my BCG Rumble. In fact, I held open auditions last year for 3 new characters. And the results turned out phenomenally because the 3 ladies I picked are great voice actresses, really lovely people. So yeah, there's opportunities around you. You just got to look for them.
Okay, I'm a little confused. Did you just say you casted 3 people?
Yes.
What was the project? Did I miss it?
BCG Rumble, Chapter 2. I mentioned it earlier about.
Yeah, I heard you say that, but I didn't put like link 2 through 2.
Put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, because I didn't know that you actually did a part 1. So I have been following you on YouTube, but I don't really get to watch everything. I have, I swear. I promise.
You didn't see part 1, guys. How could we believe her, right? Am I right?
Wait, no, I did not watch part 1 because, you know, I watch you in spurs, right? So like I binge watch you. I don't really get to see everything that you post as soon as you do it. But talk to me a little bit about that project and what people can expect in part 2.
No, I'm done with you.
Oh, come on. Come on.
I can't believe this guy.
I know they want to know too, right? Right, guys?
No, they're all good. Come on, everybody. We're going over to the Black Critic Guy channel. Come on, let's go. No, I'm just kidding. Well, as I mentioned earlier, BCG Rumble is a fan comic created by myself and Ben Tuttle, where basically me, Tony Whatley, gets transferred into the world of School Rumble, and I romance my favorite anime character, female anime character named Yakumo, who's a secondary supporting character in School Rumble. The project was actually based off of a whim. Ben made a drawing of me with my favorite female character, and I'm like, wow, that's so great. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could make that into a comic? And then he goes, and I'm like, why are you saying And then we actually started communicating and talking to each other early 2015, and then we molded the original idea of BCG Rumble from our first interaction and crafted the first part, where basically it explains not explains, but it actually replicates the opening scene from the anime, but instead of the main character, who is Tenma, the sister of Yakumo, saying the first few lines, it's Yakumo herself who says the first few lines. And I came up with the brilliant idea of not only making it a comic, what if we actually made it a web comic, where I would put it on my channel, get some voice actors and actresses to provide the voices, and boom, thus came that.
Awesome. I love that.
She didn't care. She didn't care any. She didn't even look interested, guys. How dare she?
That's so mean, Tony.
So hard.
God. If I didn't know you, an actual like real person, I'd be really offended.
You fight me right now?
No, but all right. So we need to really wrap this up. It's been an hour and a half almost. So I actually. Throughout the episode, I've been asking questions from the chat room, and we actually did around 6-7 people. So what I want you to do is, first of all, show everybody what you are giving away.
Okay, wait. I put it over there. So you just keep talking to them. I'll be right back.
Okay, so Tony has some giveaways, and from the people that I chose their questions, thank you for asking. I really appreciate you guys being here. It means the world to me. This is a new project, and Tony is being very supportive, teaching me the ropes kind of thing. And as a thank you for the 33 that are left in the chat room, we want to give you guys some stuff that he thought would be very interesting for you to have, and we're gonna pick 2. So 2 people, Tony. So what I want you to do is pick 2 numbers from 1 to 6. Make them good.
I got them. All right. So what do we do?
Wait, first, before, show everybody the giveaways.
Okay. But you said 2? Only 2 people? So I guess
only 2 people. Group
2 items then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make them the best ones then. Okay, this is a bleach necklace That's one of the giveaways that we're gonna do.
I see my face on there. Ooh.
Yeah, because it's the plastic, it's the glare. I'm sorry. Look at Hiba's face, guys, on my screen this time. Oh, she's trying to run away. But yeah, this is a bleach necklace. And then also I have a happy from Fairy Tale pencil case. So a happy pencil case and a bleach necklace.
Okay, so pick a number from 1 to 6.
I have picked the number from 1 to 6 in my mind.
Okay, say it, and I'll tell you the name that I put aside it.
Okay, it's 2 and 5.
Okay, so 2 goes to X-Sonic Cedrian. Are you still
What?
Are you still in the chat room? If you're not, you're no longer qualified.
No, she's still here. If I know her, she's still around. She's a little wallflower that hangs around, just like, hi, I'm here. Really? Wait, where'd you see that?
X-Sonic Cedrian.
Cedrian.
Are you there? Okay, there. I've never owned any anime merch. Oh no, that's Skyshine. Oh my god. All right. So what was the second number? Show the next the next group of gifts.
5.
5 is Marker Sable.
Marker Sable. How come I don't see these names? What the heck? Oh no,
they ask questions. They ask really good questions.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let me type them in. So and then maybe it'll ding. This is a total fail.
Total fail?
I would have to revisit the strategy next time.
Good job. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
And then Marker Sable.
I'm still waiting. I'm still trying to see where the numbers are here.
No, you don't have it.
I don't have it?
Because I was typing down the questions.
What? Oh, you tricky. I see you. Okay, well, Sonic Cedrian and Markerable. There, boom, got it.
Do you know them? Do you know them?
I know Sonic Cedrian.
But I feel like it's not fair for everyone who's still watching.
No, it's not that I know her personally. I know her as a subscriber.
Okay, so they're official.
Like I told you, she's a little wallflower that pops up now and again. She's like a little rabbit. But yeah.
Okay, so No, I understand. What I wanted to do is whoever's still left in the chat room, they kind of feel like they deserve.
Damn. Damn.
But since you kind of know them, and as loyal subscribers, since you know them, because we will figure out the strategy next time. I think it would be a lot better. But
this is the first time, guys. Their first time trying.
Yeah. This, so oh my god. I usually use an app that you guys can subscribe to and whatever. But this is a lot nicer because I want to thank everyone who's been here. I recognize a lot of names that have been here throughout the whole episode. I love you guys for watching. Tony, thank you so much. If you guys want to follow me, I'm at Hiba by Design on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I do this every week. It's going to change. It's every Tuesday, but it's going to change to Saturday. Subscribe to the newsletter on my website because that's all of the information about my guests and about me. I share stories about my culture every 2 weeks. So please subscribe to the newsletter and you'll learn more about this project. And if you're interested or have a recommendation for a guest that you'd like me to interview, please feel free to email me hi@hibabydesign.com. And if you love this interview, then please do subscribe because it would mean the world to me, and obviously share and all that good stuff. Thank you, Tony, so much. I really appreciate you for being here. It was nice seeing everyone.
No, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having us on. And hopefully we can get your channel to boost up. Guys, please check her out and all this stuff. I really want to support like what Hiba is doing. What she's doing is very unique. I don't see it a lot here on YouTube. And as you all know, I love supporting small content creators that have a passion and a unique voice. And Hiba definitely has both. And more.
Thank you so much. It was so nice having you, Tony. You're amazing. Next time I'll be on your channel. Okay.
Yes, we will find something to do. We'll watch an anime together. There, boom.
Yeah, I don't mind. Sounds good to me. All right, you guys, this was awesome. This is the longest interview that I've had, and I'm so grateful
I'm
for having you.
sorry.
No, you're amazing.